Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Esli from inkeandthebrain, and I'm pregnant. I'm just gonna go out and say it. Y'all would have already obviously seen it from the title, but I'm pregnant. I'm just over the moon, overjoyed. I feel like I've been dreaming about this moment pretty much my entire life. And then also, like, I would think about filming this video all of the time and just be like, I cannot wait to share, cannot wait to share for when this moment finally comes. And it's here, and I'm pregnant. I am today 13 weeks and 3 days pregnant. If you follow me on Instagram, you would have already seen maybe like a week and a half ago. I was just wanting to share so badly, and I just couldn't. You know, I was having like a really bad day, and I was like, I just want to I just want to share. I was so so desperate to share. And I know like you're technically not supposed to really share until, you know, I guess until the first trimester ends. But I just I couldn't hold it in any longer. So in this video, I wanted to, of course, tell y'all that I'm pregnant, but I also wanted to talk to y'all a little bit about my, me and Luis, our preconception kind of journey, and then also how we found out we were pregnant, and, you know, our kind of a little bit of a recap of the first trimester. Now, I have like a couple of different apps on my phone. One of them said that my first trimester was done when I hit 13 weeks, and then the other one doesn't mark the end of the first trimester until you start your 14th week. So, I mean, I'm like right at the tail end of my first trimester, so I figured either way, I just wanted to share. So, Luis and I have been, now, I'm gonna say, unofficially trying for probably about 3 years. Or right around there. Now, the reason I say unofficially is because we were both wanting a child. You know, we're both not, this is both our first baby. Luis doesn't have any previous children. I never had any children. This is my first baby. My first pregnancy also. I've never been pregnant before and had any issues like that, thank God. But this is our first baby. So, since Luis and I started dating, we both knew we wanted a family. That was never, a question of if, it was always just a question of when. Obviously when we moved in together, when we first moved in together, we had only been dating, I don't know, I want to say less than a year. And then we decided to live together, and at that point we had talked about okay, we're not going to actively try, but well, we gave it a little bit of time. I wanted to make sure that, obviously just being cautious and making sure the relationship was gonna stick. But I knew really early on with Luis, I think we both just knew we were, very much so meant for each other, and that's a whole nother sappy story. But anyway, we said, okay, so we're not going to actively try to get pregnant, but we're just not going to prevent it, right? So that was kind of our whole mindset, and that's something we had talked about. It's not it was something we had discussed. And I honestly thought that I was just going to be okay, within a month or two, I was just going to get pregnant. I truly, bottom of my heart, just believe that, because, it's we had, been careful all this time, and obviously now I'm okay, well, we're not, being careful. I have never been on birth control, never in my life, never have taken birth control. So it was, other contraceptives, I don't know the word, whatever, y'all know what I mean, that we were using. So the plan was just to stop those, right? And didn't get pregnant. My period is very regular. I track it on an app. I've been tracking it on this same app for years. So I feel like it just has my cycle down pat. I typically have a little bit of a longer cycle, like a 30-day cycle instead of the standard 28. And typically my period therefore lands on basically the same day of the month, pretty much every month. And I would say maybe like 3 times a year, it's a few days late. And every time that happened, I was just like, this is it, I'm pregnant, right? So I'm gonna start crying, I'm sorry. You know, it's just like, I have this theory that my period likes to mess with me, because I would tell Louise, like, there's no point in us going to buy a pregnancy test because they're like $10, and as soon as we buy it, like, I'm gonna get my period. Like, it's like like, it's just like my period was just waiting for me to throw away those $10. You know, so it was that kind of thing for a while. So that was probably over a year, maybe a year and a half. That was just kind of what was happening. So every once in a while I would think like, hey, like, I'm finally pregnant, or take a test, and it was negative. You know, but again, we weren't, like, I wasn't tracking ovulation, and I wasn't, you know, things like that, where I wasn't like truly trying, you know, to get pregnant. And then when we got engaged last summer, we got engaged in July of last year, of 2019, and I told Luis, you know, I think we need to be a little bit more serious about trying to get pregnant, because if you don't know, I'm 33. When he proposed, I was 32. Luis is 1 year younger than me, he's 32, and I said, hey, like, if we don't get serious about this soon, I'm gonna reach like 35, and from what I've read, that's kind of like the panic age when doctors start being like, okay, like, we really need to help this person get pregnant and stuff like that. So I was just concerned about reaching my mid-30s and not being pregnant. So that was like a really, really big concern of mine. And I told Luis, like, we need to be more serious about this. That way, you know, by the time we get married, I didn't want to go to a doctor and then be like, oh, well, you have to have been trying for a year, like actively trying for a year until we can help you. So I said, you know, like, let's just like try a little harder to get pregnant, and that way, if we hit a year mark and we haven't gotten pregnant, then we can go to a doctor and, you know, start the process of you know, treatments or whatever it may be. I didn't know, like, I had no idea. It was just in my thought, like in my brain, like, because I hadn't gotten pregnant all of these, you know, like a year and a half basically, I just really, really didn't think that it was gonna be possible. I'm gonna cry. I'm sorry. I just truly in my heart just didn't think that it was gonna be possible for us to conceive naturally. So anyway, in July we got engaged. We kind of had that discussion, you know, we want to try a little bit more actively. And then all of that kind of got derailed, because if you've been following me for a while, in August of last year, I got a medical diagnosis, which I haven't like ever really truly talked about, like what it is. But it was something like, it put me in like a really bad place mentally, like a really bad anxiety and depression, and now worried about all these like health issues. And it was just, y'all know, I've been struggling a lot. So one of the medication, it was funny because when we went to the doctor, obviously they gave me medicine and all these things, you know, that like all these tests that I had to do, and so on and so forth. Well, one of the medications that they gave me, the doctor jokingly said, like, hey, if you're not wanting to get pregnant, you might want to be extra careful, because one of the side effects of this medicine is pregnancy. Like, it just makes you more fertile. I honestly, I don't know. And I thought that was like such a weird thing, because my diagnosis like has nothing to do really with my reproductive system. Like, it's just, you know, like it didn't make sense in my brain, but it was what it was, you know, like I was like, okay, cool. Like, maybe we're gonna get pregnant. Now, last year I also, if you've been following me for a while, I know I've lost about 50 pounds in the last year. you know, I kind of in like the early part of last year, I started losing weight, and then like got more and more serious about it, like cutting down carbs and things. If a few of y'all have asked me, I do have like a health journal video. I track what I eat and things like that, but that's another story for another day, I guess. But anyway, with me like losing weight, and I guess maybe with the medication, I'm thinking that maybe that's why we were now able to get pregnant, as opposed to why we hadn't been able to get pregnant all that time. So come January of this year, we conceived in January. Obviously I didn't know until mid-February, but we conceived in January, right at the tail end of January. I'm actually not 100% sure if it was like right at the end of January or like right at the beginning of February, but it was like right around there. We were in a car accident at the beginning of January. So we have been going, or had been going, we had to suspend all of that obviously because of everything going on in the world. But we had been going to like physical therapies and, you know, all these things. Well, one of the things that we had to do, or not had to do, like one of the things for as part of our treatment was we had to get these kind of like steroid shots. I had to get them like right here at the base of my neck. Luis had to have his like towards the bottom of his back, and that was just from the impact, like damage that we had from our car accident. Well, that day, the day that we had our shot, I was already pregnant and I didn't know it. Had I known that I was pregnant, I would not, you know, I would not have had that procedure done. But anyway, we go in, we have the procedure done, we are driving away, and as we're driving away, I tell Luis like, oh my goodness, like I'm bleeding or something. I tasted the taste of blood in my mouth, and I thought maybe I bit myself or I cut myself or something, because I just had this like awful taste. And Luis pulls over and he's like, do you need me to go back? Because he thought maybe I was having a reaction to the shot. And I was like, no, hold on, like give me a second. I like drank some water and I was fine. Like it went away. And I thought that was really, really strange. Now, I had never in my life heard that having like a blood or metallic taste in your mouth was an early sign or early, like, you know, symptom of pregnancy. Never in my life had I heard that. Had I thought, like, had I known that, or had that been in my brain, you know, at some point, then maybe I would have been like, hey, maybe I'm pregnant, but didn't cross my mind. Now he's like, if you're feeling all right, like let's go get something to eat and we'll get home. So we go to this pizza place, one of like our favorite pizza places, like a Chicago style deep dish pizza. And as we're sitting there eating, I can't even like I was just like picking around the food, like it was grossing me out so badly. The pepperoni specifically, like the taste of the meat, the pepperoni, like the grease, I don't know, something about it. I was just like, oh, like, and I was like, you know what, like I just don't feel good. Like, but again, because it was not even on my radar at this point, I think my period was like due the following day or something like that. Like it was right before like missing a period. Or maybe my period at that point was like a day late. I don't remember exactly, but it was like right there. So we came home, and again that evening I was sitting down on the floor here, and I was playing with my dog Odin, which by the way, I'm like really surprised that he has not come out here to bother me, because usually as soon as I start talking, he like jumps all over me. But anyway, I'm playing with Odin, and then all of a sudden I thought I was gonna throw up. Like I just felt so queasy. Like never in my life have I like just, well, not never in my life, but it just felt like, you know, I don't know if some of y'all have this experience, but when you get like on a roller coaster and you come out and you're just like, oh, like you're just the whole brain, like that happens to me. It's like motion sickness basically. I just felt so sick. And that's when I was like, maybe I'm pregnant. And it was just like really strange. Like it was just one of those like, maybe like again, I think my period was like either a day late or it was like the day I was supposed to get my period, something like that. Like it was barely like, it wasn't even like technically like late. So I tell Luis, hey, you know, I'm feeling kind of weird. We were actually about to leave town. This was, I can't remember the date, but it was mid-February. We were gonna leave town to kind of finalize our wedding like things, because we were, you know, we got married out of town, like in our hometown. We were leaving Thursday because we had to be there Friday. I had to go do some like paperwork. So we were leaving Thursday. So this was, I think, a Tuesday night. And then Wednesday I tell him like, hey, on your way home from work, can you pick up a pregnancy test? And he says, yeah, sure, like that's fine. So Wednesday he picks up the pregnancy test, and then I say, you know, I tell him like, well, I'm not going to take it until the morning, because I had always, you know, read or assumed that you're not supposed to take it until like your morning pee, because like that's the most likely that it'll give you a positive result, or like an accurate result. So I told him like, I'll just take it in the morning. And I remember that night, I was talking to a friend, and I was like, you know, sometimes the night right before you take a pregnancy test, like sometimes that's the best night, because you have hope, you know, you have like a little tiny bit of hope that maybe, like maybe, just maybe, I'm sorry, like maybe this is the one time that it's gonna be positive, because, you know, it's been months and years. I got tissues because I knew I wasn't gonna make it through this video without crying. It's been months and years of taking a test and it just being negative, you know, just, they're always negative, right? So, but the night right before you take a test, it's like, okay, well, maybe tomorrow is the day, right? So I was telling my friend, I was like, it's such a like, Google's talking, sorry about that. There's, you know, I was telling my friend, like, I'm tired though of feeling so hopeful when I know it's gonna be negative, you know? So it's just like a random conversation I had, and I was just feeling like we were leaving town that Thursday, like I said. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have taken it. Like, I would have waited to just see if my period was gonna end up being late. But I didn't want to be like at my parents' house and the whole time like thinking like, what if I'm pregnant? What if I'm pregnant? What if I'm pregnant? So Thursday morning, wake up, and Luis is getting ready to go to work, and I'm like, you know, doing our normal morning routine, and I was like, oh yeah, I have to go pee on this stick, right? So I go and I pee, and I leave the test on, I don't know why, but I went to go take the test in our guest bathroom. I think Luis must have been using our bathroom. So I went to take the test in the guest bathroom, and I put the pee stick, the test, on like the little, you know, edge of the tub. I just like left it there. I put the 3-minute timer on my phone, and I actually like, you know, washed my hands, and I came back to the kitchen, doing whatever it was I was doing. And then I go back into the restroom, and I just see like a very, very faint second line. And I don't even know. I don't even know. Like, I couldn't believe it. Like, I was like, no, like, this has to be wrong. This has to be wrong. And, you know, Luis comes out of the room, and he's like, oh, like, did you take it? And I was like, there's a line. Like, come look at it. There's a second line. And he's like, what does that mean? I'm like, it means I'm pregnant. And he's like, but it's like, he's like, you can barely see that line. Like, he was so convinced that because the line was so faint that there was just like no way it was like real. And I was honestly thinking the same thing, but I've watched enough, like I follow a lot of people that do like vlogs and things, and I've seen people say like, no matter how faint the line is, as long as there's a second line, like, you're pregnant, right? And I was like, no, like, I'm pretty sure like it doesn't matter how dark it is, like, I'm pregnant. But then I was like, you know what? I'm not pregnant. This is probably, and I don't know why I got it in my head that because I had just had that steroid shot thing injected into my body 2 days before, I thought for sure that is causing some kind of reaction in my body to make this test be positive. Like that, I just had that in my head because there is no way, like there is no way that I was really truly pregnant. Like my brain couldn't process that. And I told him, you know what, like it's probably not real. Like just go to work. I'll take another test in a little while just to see if that comes up positive, and I will do some research on the medicine that I had injected. Maybe like there's some kind of side effect. Let me do some research on like false positives. And he's like, okay. Like we honestly at this point we both just did not truly, like it wasn't sinking in that it was like true or real. So he goes to work, I wait a little while, I drank a bunch of water, and then I had another test. So I take another test, and this is one of those like digital, you know, the ones that are like actually say like yes or no. And again, it pops up yes. And I just, again, I'm still convinced that there must be something wrong with my body because of the medication I've been taking and the shots that I received and all these things, right? Like I'm just convinced that there's just no way. Obviously, I'm not a doctor. I'm not anything, right, to qualify me to make these assumptions, but I'm just so convinced. And I spent hours that day like Googling and searching and just seeing if there was any way that this test could be positive based on the medication I was taking and the shots I received and all of that. So there was nothing I could find. So, you know, Luis gets home from work and I tell him like, it's just like, we're pregnant. I'm like, sure, this is real. Like we're pregnant. And he was just so excited. And the first thing he like said is like, he actually said it in the morning, not in the afternoon. In the morning, he's like, when I had first told him like I think I'm pregnant, and he was so worried, like what if I'm not a good dad? And I'm like, of course you're gonna be a good dad. Like he's such a good human. Of course he's gonna be a good dad. But I was just like, you know, I just thought it was funny. And we're leaving town that day, like that very same day. We're scheduled to leave town to go spend the evening with our parents. Now, our parents have known that we live together, but both of our sets of parents are very conservative. So whenever we would go visit them, because we weren't, you know, legally married, basically, we would always sleep separate. So like he would sleep at his parents' house, I would sleep at my parents' house. Now, obviously we're married, we can sleep wherever, but you know, we can't go visit anymore because of this whole thing happening. But anyway, so that evening we were driving, we got there super late. We got to our hometown super late at night. It was like already almost 1 in the morning because we had stopped. I had bought more tests and I had taken like 2 more tests in a Walgreens, like in the Walgreens restroom because I just like needed to be sure. And that night I get to my parents' house, like he drops me off at my parents', and we told his sister, because we picked up his sister on the way to our hometown. We picked her up from college, just so she could go for like the weekend visit also. And we told her in the car. We had already told my older sister because technically she guessed. Like I was just like telling her like, hey, I want you to come over to dinner at my parents' house tomorrow. And she was like, why? And I was like, oh, well, I just want all of us to have dinner together. She's like, are you pregnant? Like, and of course I couldn't hold it in. Like I was too excited. So then I told her. And then as soon as I got home, my parents were asleep, but my little sister, she's not like little, she's 20. She's gonna be 20 this year. I don't even know. She's 19, gonna be 20. She was awake, so I told her. And she was just so excited, like so excited. And the next day I had told Luis, okay, like we have like things we need to take care of during the day, but let's have dinner at my parents' house on Friday and then dinner at your parents' house on Saturday, and we'll tell them that way. Now I what I did is I went to Target, I bought a pacifier, and then I put a little note that it was in Spanish. My parents primarily speak Spanish. They do speak English, but prefer speaking Spanish. So I wrote a little note saying like, grandparents, you know, I'll see you in October, something like that. And I rolled it up, stuck it into like the little pacifier, and then I put it into a board game. We love playing board games in my family. It's just a thing we always do after dinner. So we just had dinner like normal. I didn't say anything. We were just kind of hanging out. And then I'll put in the video.
Esli, después de que se llenó de gasolina todo el cuerpo y estuvo pone gorro. Échale gasolina, déjame echarle.
No estés jugando con... ¿Es en serio esto? ¿Es en serio?
¿Está bien, señora? ¿Está bien, señora?
Ay, Dios mío, bendice esto, Padre. Ay, es en serio, Padre. Vamos, mi rey. Ahorita es pura café, hija. Lo que sea.
¿Está bien, señora? ¿Cuándo supiste?
Ayer. Todavía ni voy a hacer todo, apenas me enteré ayer.
¿Te hiciste varias?
4 o 5. 4 o 5.
También estás llorando.
No
Ya.
puede estar un perro más. So as you can see, we honestly thought my mom was not breathing. We were like concerned that she was gonna have like some kind of heart attack or panic attack, like something, because she has been asking for grandkids basically since I turned like 18, maybe even younger, honestly. I don't even know. Like I have one older sister who's 5 years older than me, and I have one younger sister, the one that I mentioned is 19, so she's considerably younger than I am. My older sister, I don't think has any intention of having children. I don't think that's a thing that she's planning on. So basically I was my parents' only hope, you know, until recently where my little sister came of age, but hopefully she's, you know, not going to have children anytime soon. But anyway, you know, so I've been like basically my parents' only hope, right? They would always be like, when are you gonna have kids? 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 Like it was like non-stop. As conservative as they are, that they wouldn't let me and Luis sleep in the same room, but but they still wanted grandkids. Like all the time they would be asking for that. And I'd be like, oh, I have a dog, you know, and then when I got Odin, like, oh, here's my new puppy Odin. But, you know, we just had never gotten pregnant, and I had never really talked to my family about the fact that we were trying. Because again, we were saying we were unofficially trying for most of that time because we really, the goal was to wait until we were married to like get pregnant. But I figured since we weren't getting pregnant, we had to like try a little harder. So this was literally the week before our wedding. We found out it was like a week and 2 days or something before our wedding. We got married on Leap Day, February 29th, because we met. Our very, very first date ever was, we met online. We talked online, like on an app, one of those like dating apps, and we talked on there for a while. And then like the first time we met in person, our first date was on Leap Day of 2016, so 4 years ago. And now exactly 4 years later, we got married. But anyway, That's a whole another thing. And sorry, I'm out of breath. I'm talking a lot, but also like just all the time I'm out of breath now. So that happened. Obviously my parents are ecstatic. They're like over the moon. My mom was like, we have to go to Ross right now, or Target or something. Like, I was like, I need to buy something for this baby. So I'm so glad. I'm gonna cry again. I'm so glad that we found out before the wedding, and that we found out before all of this happened, because at least I got to tell my parents in person, you know? Now we can't, you know, we can't go hang out with our parents, we can't go see them, so that's just, it's rough. But anyway, the following day, on Saturday, we did something really similar at Luis's house. We told, like, they had a little barbecue, and then we told them, they don't usually play board games, but we had gone out and bought like a big box of donuts, and we did the same thing where we put the pacifier with the little note inside the donuts, and then they opened it, and they were like, and it was funny because Luis's dad, he's like, when I first saw the pacifier, I was thinking, like, is there like some kind of holiday that, like, why would they put a pacifier in here? Like, he didn't realize that, like, we had put it there. He thought it was like something with the donuts, which I thought was really cute. But they were also super excited. Everyone's just so supportive, so happy for us, so excited. And then obviously, like, we came back home. I was gonna schedule an appointment with a doctor. I didn't have a doctor here in San Antonio, so, like, aside from my, like, general doctor, so I was gonna schedule an appointment, but they were all, like, super far out. I guess because at that point I was, like, barely pregnant. I think I was like 4, maybe 5 weeks, and I think they don't really want to see you until maybe like around 8 weeks or so. All right, y'all, sorry about that kind of interruption. My camera overheated, so I don't know exactly where I left off. Look who is here with me now. Can y'all see him? Odin just jumped up here. No, bubbies, lay down, lay down. No, don't sit on baby's pictures. Sit down, bubbies. Whatever, he's just gonna be here now. All right, so I think I was talking about, like, trying to schedule an appointment. So there wasn't any way to schedule an appointment, and I like right away. So I scheduled one in my hometown for the day of like after the wedding. I think that's how it worked out. I don't remember. Well, the day, 2 days before the wedding, we were leaving on so I'm sorry, I got kind of confused on where I was with the whole story here, but we came back from that weekend after we told our parents and everything, and then we were leaving again that Friday because we were getting married on Saturday. So we were going back down to our hometown, but obviously we came back up because Luis had to go to work and all of that. So we came back up here, and we, on Thursday evening, it was right around like 4 o'clock. It was right at the time that Luis gets out of work. I'm just here at home like normal, and I went to the restroom, and when I went to the restroom, there was blood, and I just immediately started praying, like praying and begging God, like, please don't take my baby, like, please don't take my baby. And that's all I could say, like, that's all I could think. Just over and over, like, just begging God, like, please, please, please don't take my baby. I was pretty convinced that because I had blood, that was it, you know. I just didn't see any other way. And we went to the emergency room. I called Luis. I was still sitting in the restroom, and I called Luis, and he didn't answer. And I called him again, but when I called him again, I could hear him, like, I could hear his car pulling into the driveway. So he didn't answer because he was right around the corner, and he, you know, I guess just thought like, I'll just be right there. So he answered the second time though, and he could just tell I was crying. And he's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? What happened? And I heard him like rush in, like, where are you? Like he was screaming like, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? And I at that point was in the bedroom. I was sitting on the bed, and I told him, I was like, I'm bleeding. Like, I don't, you know, I think this is it. Like, I was just sure, like, at that point that I had lost the baby. And he was like, okay, like, let's go to the doctor. Like, where do we need to go? Like, let's just, you know, we decided we'd just go to the emergency room. So we go to the emergency room. This was like February, I said it was like 2 days before the wedding. So it was like February 26, 27, right around there. So this was before like all the kind of scariness that is going on in the world today. By the way, I did decide to not talk about that very much in this video. There are a couple things I'm going to mention, but I'm going to be actually making a separate video about kind of my thoughts about being pregnant during a pandemic. But this video is just about like what happened and our joy, and I just didn't want to put too much of that in here. But anyway, you know, we go to the emergency room. It turned out everything was fine. They did an ultrasound, and Luis was in there with me, and, you know, they put the little heartbeat on, you know, like we could hear the heartbeat, and it was just like the greatest sound I've ever heard in my whole entire life. Like, I don't even know how to explain that, like that sound. It was just like, it was the most, just like, it was just your relief and joy, and it was just perfect. Like, it was just perfect. And Luis just like looked at me, and he like squeezed my hand. And then, you know, whenever I was kind of getting dressed again, you know, they told me there was like a little restroom attached to the room that I was in. They said, like, go in there, you can get dressed, you know. And Luis and I both went into the restroom, and he just hugged me, and he did this little like jump, like just like this little excited jump, and he was just so happy. Like, I could just tell, like, his face just like, it was just filled with so much joy, and I was just so relieved, because I was sure that there was something wrong. So that was, like I mentioned, a few days before the wedding. So we left, we go to our hometown, we get married, and then that Monday we had an appointment, and in that appointment, you know, when I was discharged from the emergency room, they basically just gave me a paper saying that I had unexplained bleeding, and that I was like at like higher risk for miscarriage. Like, that's literally all they told me, which was like not very informative or helpful, but that was it. So then when we went to the doctor, we explained what happened. They put me on progesterone. So I had to take progesterone every day orally, and that, I feel like that had made, I only took that for about 3 weeks, but that made all of the pregnancy symptoms, I feel like 800,000 times worse. Like, it was just not very good. I was super, like, even more emotional than normal. But again, like, I mean, I'm pregnant, so like that was to be expected. And to that appointment, Luis actually did get to go with me, because again, it was before all the craziness. And actually my mom and his mom were there also, because we told them that, you know, that if they wanted to go, and I'm gonna cry again. They had like a little sofa where they could sit, and I was like on the other side of kind of like this half wall, and where they did the ultrasound. So they got to hear the baby's heartbeat, like from, you know, from the little room that they were in, which now, like, I'm just so happy that they got to experience that, because, you know, I don't think I'm probably going to be seeing my parents or Luis's parents for the rest of our pregnancy. you know, with everything going on. This last appointment that I had, which was with now like my, you know, the doctor that's going to be delivering my baby, like my here in our like where we're living now in San Antonio, Luis doesn't get to go with me anymore to those appointments. With everything that's happening, they're limiting who gets to you know, go into the rooms and things, so he's not even allowed in the waiting area. And it's really tough because, you know, this isn't just my first baby, it's his first baby too, and he doesn't get to be there now to hear his baby's heartbeat and to see, you know, to see the baby. So it was really sad, this last appointment. Last appointment was last week, I think, no, 2 weeks ago, when I was 11 weeks, and that is this sonogram that they gave me. So you can see, it's kind of hard. I feel like maybe this one, I did put a picture up on my Instagram, but you can see little baby's profile. Like, you can see a nose, like the little bump of a nose, and like a jaw. I'm just so excited. Like, I just cling to this picture every day because I'm just like so nervous, you know. So I am considered high risk because of other medical conditions that I have. I am doing well though. I want to just talk quickly because I know I've been blabbing forever. I wrote down like everything I've been feeling. So headaches, I feel like I've had kind of like I've been calling it like a baseline headache this entire time. Like I have a low headache right now. It's like, it's subtle enough to where like I'm okay, but it's just bothersome. So that's been like ongoing pretty much the whole pregnancy. There are some days where I've gotten like really, really bad headaches. But for the most part, it's just like this like low level ongoing headache. It has been getting better. I feel like in the last maybe 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks, I started going from like every day is awful to, okay, I'm having a few good hours now in every day, to now I have like 1 good day and then 1 bad day and then 2 good days and then 3 bad days, or, you know, so like it's getting better. I tell Luis, like, recently I've had like a few days where I'm like, I don't feel pregnant today. Like, I wake up and I feel like normal. Like, and then I get worried because I'm like, wait, like, is something wrong? And should I not be feeling okay? But I mean, everything's okay so far. And you know, there are some days where I just like have struggled. There's literally some days where I've not been able to get out of bed. So queasy, have to like force myself to eat something. I like literally only get up out of bed because I have to pee. That's another thing. Like, I have never peed so much in my entire life. Like, I go to the restroom probably like 20 times a day. It's ridiculous. Like, it's super obnoxious. But again, I know that's totally normal. Just, I wrote down like a bit of cramps, like the way I could describe it is, you know, like the day right before you get your period. That's what I've been feeling, where you start feeling kind of crampy and like twingy and like bloated and just like discomfort, and like, you know, your period is coming because like your boobs hurt and like everything just feels a little off. Like, that's what I've just been like, general discomfort. My like chest, like my boobs have been hurting awful. Like, there are some days where I truly, like, I can't even touch my chest area because it feels like it's on fire, like it's burning. Really weird dreams, really bad heartburn. I am so lucky I have not thrown up this entire pregnancy. I'm constantly queasy, but I've had really bad heartburn to where, I don't know if any of you have ever experienced really bad heartburn, but like, you'll like kind of like throw up in your mouth a little. Like, that's happened to me like 4 or 5 times where I'm just like, ugh, like but I haven't actually like thrown up. So I'm really, really, really grateful for that. Just very, very sleepy, very tired. I think also coming off the progesterone helped because I just felt exhausted, like as if the way I described it to Luis was like, imagine being at Disney World or like any theme park and you've been walking around since like 7 in the morning and it's now like almost midnight and you've been walking around in the hot sun and you're just like exhausted. Like that's what I feel like on a lot of days, and that's just like really awful because I'm like, I'm not doing anything, like why am I so tired? But that's been one of the things. As far as cravings, I don't think I've had like weird cravings. I have had a couple of, I've been really wanting like cold and crunchy things. So I've been eating a lot of celery, which I typically don't like want celery, but I was craving celery. So we got some celery. I've been dipping that like in ranch. Green bell peppers, like I'll chop those up too and just eat them like I just like the cold crunchiness. A lot of milk. I don't drink regular milk. I just can't for other reasons. So I drink almond milk. So I've been drinking a lot of that with like Cheerios. For some reason I just really want Cheerios, like just plain, not like the fancy kind, just plain Cheerios. And then one random day I really wanted green bean casserole, which is not some, like I literally only eat that like on Thanksgiving basically. I don't think we ever make that any other time of the year, but I was like really wanting green bean casserole. So I made a green bean casserole. But that's it. Like I don't know, I just don't feel like I've had like super weird things. Mostly it's just like a texture thing. I did have where I didn't want, you know how I mentioned that I got kind of sick off eating the pepperoni for a while? I didn't want meat, like any taste of meat was like gross, but that went away pretty quickly. Like it was only maybe like the first, I don't know, like 7-8 weeks, and then I was like, it was fine. I wasn't having that issue at all. So that is basically it. I know this video is like forever long. I will be doing, like I said, a video about kind of dealing through like just my thoughts and with everything going on. I know the world is weird and scary right now, and I just want to do a video on that. But let me know if you have any questions. I want to talk Luis into doing like a Q&A with me. I thought that would be really fun. So if you have any questions for him, any questions for me, please let me know. Please leave me a comment or send me a message. If you don't follow me on Instagram, I'll put my Instagram information here. It is always linked down below as well. I have my shop Instagram, which is inkeandthebrain. Excuse me. But then I have my personal Instagram, which is Esli. So if you want to follow me there, so you get more baby updates and things like that, that would be great. But also, oh, and I really want to ask for y'all's recommendations. I know that like most people don't really want unsolicited advice from the internet, but I totally do, because I don't really have, like I said, my sisters don't have children. My best friend does not have any kids. I do have some friends, but I don't live near them that have children. I don't live near them. I don't, have a relationship where I talk with them like every day or even every week. Like I just, like I don't have any close friends that have little babies, like especially like infants or like, like young babies. So I have no idea like what stroller to buy or what bassinet or what, like I have no idea about anything, y'all. Like I feel, send help. Let me know. I did start like, which is like, honestly, I feel dumb making it, but I did make a gift registry on Amazon, just because I like wanted to have like a record of the things I want to buy, because I don't expect that I'm going to be having a baby shower, just because, of things that are going on. I don't think things will be better. I'm not due until October, but I just don't foresee things being better enough for a party before then. So, but I started one to like keep record of what I needed to get. And then I realized like I put like maybe like 5 things on there because I have no idea. I have no idea what to get. So let me know. Tell me what your recommendations are. Book recommendations, I would love to know. Not for me, but like for the baby. I did not grow up with a lot of books. Like especially when I was like in middle school, I got into reading a lot, so I would read all the time. But like I never had a lot of like baby books. So I don't know like I don't know what's out there, you know, like so let me know. I would just really appreciate it, and thank you all so much for being so amazing and supportive and wonderful, and I'm just so happy, y'all. Like I'm so happy. I cannot wait to meet this baby. I cannot wait. I'm so thrilled. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I will talk to y'all very soon, and let me know, like I said, if you have any questions for me. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.